Hello and good morning. My name is Nelly and welcome. Today we are going to be doing my February wrap up. Now, in February, I read 5 books. Mind you, that's because the first 12 days I didn't read anything. I tried. I got like 30 pages into the book and I was like not feeling it. And then finally, I got myself back into reading, but had I read those first 12 days, we would have had more. But we did read 5 books, and for the most part, it was a great month. So the first book I read this month was Poison Study by Maria V. Schneider. We had a extended weekend at school this month, which essentially just means I had one extra day in my weekend. So I decided I was gonna do a study marathon of the entire trilogy, and 100% did not make it. I read really slow, so I wasn't actually expecting myself to make it, but we'll get to that in a moment. So I realized in my last wrap up, I never actually explained what any of the books were about. So I'm not gonna explain the next 2 books because obviously spoilers, but this first book is about Yelena, who was kind of like a ward to this district, and then she ends up killing people there. And in this society, literally doesn't matter why you kill someone. If you kill someone, you're going to the dungeon and then you're gonna be executed. So it doesn't matter if it's self-defense, doesn't matter anything. Like, if you kill someone, you're gonna be executed. So she's in the dungeon for an entire year, and then it's finally her turn to go up to the execution block. But in this society, the way it works is if the poison taster is something happens to them, then the next person in line to be executed gets the offer to be the poison taster, and that was Yelena. And so she becomes the poison taster, and then she kind of goes on this little journey after that. Yeah, it was a great time. There is romance in here, but it's such a tiny subplot. It is the definition of a subplot in this story, but I loved it so much. It was just, I don't know what it was, but something about the relationship, it was sprinkled and barely a tiniest bit of spice, but I was thriving for it and it didn't bother me, which is really weird because usually if there isn't enough romance, it will bother me. But yeah, I loved Yelena as a main character. She was just amazing. She didn't bother me at all. There was nothing about her that I didn't like. But yeah, not just Yelena. I loved Valak. I loved Ari and Janko. I love them. They were so funny. But Marin, all of them, even the commander. I didn't mind the commander. It was just a great time. I really enjoyed everyone in this story. It was not slow, but it also was definitely not fast. There was not that much action in it or anything. It's it just felt natural. I just naturally felt like I was going through Yelena's life as she becomes the food taster and all that. Great time. I do have a spoiler reads on this because I was gonna do a spoiler reads, just one video for the entire trilogy, but I talk a lot, as is pretty evident in any video if you watch it of mine. So they are broken up. So we do have a spoiler reads for all 3 of the books. So the next book we have is Magic Study by Maria V. Schneider, and this is a picture because I borrowed it from the library. Poison Study, I own. The next 2 books I didn't own, I got from the library, so don't have them on me. But great time. Again, I'm not gonna explain what happens because spoilers, but you get to kind of be in a different part of the world and you're kind of navigating that world. You're getting to learn more about Yelena. Again, romance is even less of a subplot in this one. It's barely sprinkled. You don't see. Is it a spoiler if I say who the romantic person is? I don't think so, because you figure it out pretty soon. But whatever, you don't see her romantic partner for majority of the book. And even when he comes in, he's barely a part of the story. But for some reason that did not bother me. I don't know what it was, but something about the way it was written and how much I enjoyed Yelena made it so that it didn't bother me because it felt natural. It felt yeah, they shouldn't be together at this moment. This is how he should be doing this. This is how she should be. They shouldn't be talk like together like that. And the third book we have is Fire Study by Maria V. Schneider. Again, brought it from the library. This one, not gonna lie, for a moment was kind of slow and boring, and I was like, oh no. Then like the second I said that in my spoiler reads, I actually say it. The second I said it, like the next couple pages, I was like, okay, it just picks straight back up. So great time. There was a little bit of miscommunication in this book, and I've said it before, I hate when authors do that. It's very realistic, so I understand how it was done and why it was done. But there was a little bit of miscommunication, drove me fucking insane. But great time. We did get a little bit more romance in this one, but I still feel like the first one had the most, and it was still barely a subplot in that one. So if you're going into it expecting romance, don't read the series. I was expecting romance like a little bit, but I wasn't expecting like a huge thing. So I think that's part of it, which is weird because I usually go into any story expecting a good chunk of romance. Like it doesn't have to be the plot, it doesn't have to be the like main subplot, but it has to be a sufficient enough subplot. But yeah, it was a great time. And my biggest thing for this entire trilogy is how realistic the entire series is. Like how realistic Yelena was, how realistic her situations felt, and her thoughts during the situations, and how she handled herself around other people. All of it just felt real, and it felt like if this was a story and if I was Yelena, like this is how it would go. So I really, really love that. I would say if I have to give a critique to this story, it would be more show than tell. Because I mean, there was like showing rather than telling, but like at some points I was like, okay, you're just telling me this. Or especially the romance part of it. Again, everything I do always goes straight back to romance. The romance part of it, a lot of the time, was more I was being told how she feels about the guy rather than like actually seeing anything. Like a lot of times it was like she would think, oh, I miss him, or I can't wait to see him, blah blah blah, and it would be like one line, and I'm like, okay, that's not very convincing of how much you love this man, because I need at least a paragraph of your thoughts, like not just I miss him, but like a full thought process on like what's going on. Also, I'm so sorry if you can hear my neighbors, like they're being so rude right now. And we're back to books I can physically hold up. Now, next we have The Wish Granter by C.J. Redwine. This is the second book, and I don't remember what it's called. I think it's like the Ravenspire or the Shadow Queen series, whatever. It's a 4-book series, all companions, so they're all following different characters. Basically, like, there's this world, and each book follows a different set of characters within each kingdom. Yes, this is from the library. The reason I have this one and I didn't have the other two is because I picked this one up after I picked up the other two. That's a lie. I just didn't drop this one off when I dropped off the other two. But more of the story, I still have it. I'm dropping it off next time I go to the library. I really enjoyed the first one. I gave it like a 4, just over 4 stars. It was a really fun time. So I was kind of expecting to enjoy this one as well. Definitely did not happen. I did not make a spoiler reads for this, but in my last vlog, you could see me talking about it. I was so bored. I was about halfway through. It was like 250 pages in, and I was like, I want to DNF this so badly, but I was like, I'm already over halfway through, so I'm not gonna DNF it. I didn't. I ended up giving it a 2.5. Oh, I didn't say. I gave the entire trilogy 5 stars each. They were a great time, but I ended up giving this a 2.5 stars. It was gonna be a 2 stars, but then the last bit did pick it up a little bit, so I gave it a 2.5. But essentially, this is about Ari and her brother Thad, and they're kind of like bastards to the king, and then they end up becoming the heirs to the throne. But they're in debt to the Wish Granter, who's like this evil villain guy, and so it's kind of the story of trying to like beat the villain. It is a retelling. I'm not gonna say what it's a retelling of, because that was part of the last like 50, like that was part of the climax, because I knew it was a retelling, but I was like, I don't know what this story is. And then once I heard, I'm not gonna say it, but once I found out that last part, I was like, oh, it's a good thing I didn't know what story this was retelling, because I would have guessed that immediately. But it is a retelling. And yeah, I mean, I did not like Ari. I didn't really care for most of the characters. I like Sebastian. Like, I liked his story. But I'm not gonna lie, for most of the time, I was rooting for the villain. I kind of wanted the Wish Granter to win. Like, I knew he wasn't going to, so I wasn't, like, actually rooting for him. But I was like, I'm more interested in the Wish Granter, and I, like, honestly, I'm on his side. Okay? Like, yeah, he's killing people, but, like, I'm on his side. So, just, not well done. Probably, and by probably I mean, like, 99% sure I'm not gonna be continuing on with this series. I just, there's so many books on my TBR. I might, because right now it's kind of like one good, one bad. So, like, the third one would be the tiebreaker, but probably not anytime soon. And the final book we have is, of course, A Court of Silver Flames by Miss Sarah J. Maas. I finished this last night. It was a great time. Are we surprised? Like, is anyone surprised that I love this? Is anyone surprised that everyone loves this? Like, honestly, we were all expecting it. We all loved it. I will say, how can I really say what this is about? I mean, it's following Nesta and Cassian's story. I'm sure everyone knows that part. I didn't realize the entire journey in this book was gonna be a mental one for Nesta. I thought it was gonna be like an actual leading up to war, which, I mean, it is leading up to war. It's just the war is not in this book, which actually makes a lot of sense. I kind of feel like it's not even gonna be in the next one. It's gonna be in the third one after that. So we still got a while. But I didn't realize that it was gonna be a mental challenge for Nesta, this entire situation. But I really liked that aspect of it. It did get annoying at times because I feel like some parts of it weren't that well explained. So basically, I feel like there wasn't really an explanation for Nesta's relationship with some of these people. Even at the end when she and Cassian were, like, actually together, it was explained why she had been pushing him away and stuff. But, like, her explanation for her sisters, her explanation for other people, like, none of that was really given. For the most part, great time. There were some parts that were slow, which it made sense for the story for it to be slow because you have to go through these scenes to get to the final section. But I'm not gonna lie, it felt less like a romance. I mean, it definitely did feel like a romance, but it felt less like a romance and more like a coming of age. Like, it felt more like her really getting to come into herself and, like, learn to love herself and making these friendships with Emery and Gwyn, and yeah, just getting to, like, learn her family a little bit, learn herself, become better with her family. But, like, her relationship with Cassian wasn't really explored. Like, yeah, they had sex, and those sex scenes, they were more fucking than sex. Like, they were, like, rough, nasty. They were a great time, let me tell you. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Not just the sex, but, like, any of the sexual scenes in this book. Beautiful. But that's not the point. The point is, other than those sex scenes, you didn't really get a lot of romance. Like, you got them protecting each other, you got them feeling something to each other, never talking about it. But you didn't really get, like, the actual, like, growing of the romance. I don't know. Moral of the story, I still gave this 5 stars. It's a slower 5 stars than Akamoff and Akabor. It's kind of like if this was a 5 stars, then Akamoff Akabor is more like 6 stars. But it's still a great time. Still really enjoyed it. Looking forward to who's next. I don't know who's gonna be next. I kind of feel like the next book is gonna be about Oz, and I think he's gonna end up with Gwyn. I also don't know what the extra story with Oz was. I kind of feel like it was like him giving Gwyn a necklace, because I read something on Instagram and I was like, what scene was that? So it has to have been the extra scene. So I'm hoping it's Oz and Gwen, because I don't like Oz and Elaine. I'm not here for it. So that's what I'm hoping the next book is. And then the one after that, honestly, I don't know, because it'd be more or it'd be Elaine. Or it could be more and Elaine, you know, together. I've thought about that before too, but then I'm like, I don't know if they'd end up together. But yeah. So that was the end of my February wrap up. I actually do plan on reading something tonight. By reading, I mean I plan on listening to an audiobook tonight. That's Seduce Me at Sunrise? Or by Sunrise. I think Seduce Me at Sunrise by Lisa Kleypas. That's the second book in the Hathaways series. I was gonna say trilogy. It's a series. But yeah, I have like 4 days left on my loan, and then there's like 5 people waiting for it at the library, so I have to listen to it within these next few days. I was gonna listen to it before I read Agam Sif, but Witch Cancer took too long, so I couldn't. But I do plan on starting that tonight. I'm definitely not gonna finish it tonight, so it's not gonna be going into this, but I do plan on starting it tonight. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.